Welcome back. Yeah, so I have the server running here. So everyone is running the server, and you can see here. You can see. Okay, it's saying actually welcome to React, and to get started, edit the source app.js and save to load. So that means that we don't need to refresh. You type everything, you type anything, and it will be just like automatically like loaded. It's called how to load something. Yeah. So yeah, and we can check that file. It's source app.js. Source app.js. But for you, you don't need to do that. You will follow me. Okay? This is just to get you up and started, so we don't need to waste time. After that, or maybe you have troubles home, assign it. So make sure that you have the tool now, so you can do the homework. But after that, you just keep following us. Okay? So you can see here the app, the header, the image, the h1, image, header, h1, and to get started. So this is just, so if I will remove this and say hello from React, it will be hello from React automatically. Okay? There is a bunch of files here. I will remove them. So there is this service worker. No, you will follow me. Okay. There is a bunch of files here. There is the test, there is index.css and stuff. So the entry point of our app is actually the this is the entry point. So we will delete almost everything from here. And I will delete actually everything else. I don't know if you can select low files here. .css. No, like not all of them. I want just every this matter.
Maybe shift.
Icon. So we have index. We will remove the logo. And we will remove the service worker. Okay. So I kept just one file. Source index. This is the only file that I have. You can see here const root I will type here h1 const h1 equal. All of you remember this? Yes, so I will say ID dd or something. No. We need to move the function call because remove the file associated with it. Here, so we got started again. We have like one JavaScript file. So we import two things, React and React DOM. The interesting part, it's like we are installing React and React DOM from npm. Okay, before we were including them in the script in the header using script tags. Now we have them as dependencies. So you can say React. You already worked with package.json, all of you?
Yes.
All of you? React DOM, React scripts, it's something that helped us started with React, this tool. So we have React and React DOM. React is for the elements and stuff, and React DOM is for rendering to the browser. Make sure that we understand this. We import them, we create the root, we get the root, we query it from the browser. Where is this root element? Well, if you check public index.html, there is this div root element in the body. Can you see? So we get it here and stuff. You will see the no script here. No script means like if JavaScript is not enabled on this browser. Because if JavaScript is not enabled in this browser, so we cannot run this JavaScript, technically. So we will not have hello here or any stuff that we build using React. So no script, you say, oh, you need to enable JavaScript to run this app. It's a message for you users if they are, because there is some retarded people who still believe that JavaScript will hack their browsers and stuff, so they disable it. So this is just a message for that. Clear? Yeah, there is still retarded people in this one. If you go to Reddit and stuff, there's fucking retarded people everywhere. Yeah, we should execute them. Oh. Give me your computer. Die in peace.
JavaScript can hack them, but what is their choice?
Yeah, but it's
Take
like
the risk or not use the
yeah. It's like okay. Oh, there's a knife. You can kill someone using a knife.
Yeah, don't use it.
Let's remove all the knife. Like it doesn't make any fucking sense. Pulp Function. He said Pulp Function. Like remember Pulp Fiction?
Yeah, the movie.
Yeah, Pulp Function. He's confused. Pulp class. Okay, so we have the HTML5. This is where we run this. So now we will start building the same thing that we built before. The counter on something, but we just build the static like stuff. We'll not really make it dynamic. So we will be more interested now in rendering stuff to the DOM. So every time you want to create an element, so the whole idea about React is to create components. What I mean by components, for example, if you go to, let's say, React, let's say this. Can you see this? So this is search, and it's searching for like a product, electronics, name, stuff. So when you build an app traditionally, you just go and build all this HTML. And you go to JavaScript and you start get element by ID, you start bullshitting in JavaScript, and that will create a lot of like problems and stuff if the app will become big. Of course it's okay, but it's just like complex. When the app get complex, it will be really hard to maintain. So generally you need data to actually display it. You work with Ajax before to fetch the data and stuff. For example, here we can have like category, price, stocked, category, price, stock. It's an array of objects, and each line here, it's actually one of these objects. It's like movies and stuff, what you used to do. So the way you think about React is to actually divide your UI into components and see which component I have, and you build them separately. So each component will be self-contained in a JavaScript file, in a class, in a function, it doesn't matter. We will see how we're gonna build it, but the way of thinking is to actually divide these. So you can see here I have the search box. I have the list. Okay, I have two components, one search box. So I have the root, which is, I have a root, which is like the body, kind of. I will render two components here. The blue, which is the search box. The second one is like product lists. In the search box, I will render an input, checkbox, and label. In the second, in the list, product list, I will render
two labels, name and price.
yeah, I will render, for example, like a list header. List header is name and price. Okay, and after that, I will, we can like render name and list in P's or like spans or something. But the interesting part is like I can render list header. You can see here in the blue. List header. Okay, can you see? Follow me, please. Follow me, all of you. Follow me. So you can see here the list header, list items, list header, list items. So we will build like React components. What I mean by React component, it's like we will have here. If you go to an HTML file, we will have something like this: product list, list header. You got it? It's weird. HTML doesn't really give you a list header. Wow. Like, what do you mean by list header? So this is the job of React. We will build like components, and we will render we will render them. So it's like we are building our own div, our own span, our own P. So we have like the small stuff provided by the browser, H1 until H6, P and stuff. We will build more components, like the P and stuff, and we will use them across our application. Why it's this? Because let's say for example Facebook, they have the something reusable in Facebook. Like button, for example. They have the like button here, and maybe they use the like button in the profile. So they will not. What?
They use it everywhere.
Yeah, they use it everywhere. But I'm not saying just the post, but maybe they use it in another page. For example, they use it in a profile, to like in the profile or something. They will not build it everywhere. They will build one called like button. Okay? They will build something called like button. And they will use it everywhere. It's like P. You use the P everywhere to render text. You will use the like button everywhere you want to render like button. For example, if Facebook wants to change the like button into a reaction button, they did that actually. They will not go to every post, every page, and do that. They will just change what's inside the like button. So do you understand the benefit of having this? It's like having a function that, for example, alert something or print something, and you want to change from hello world to hello name. You don't go and change everywhere where you call this function. You just go and change the function, and your program automatically will use that function. This is like code reuse. So you are reusing your code.
Keyword here is reusability.
Yes, it's really important. So, and with reusability, maintainability actually comes. So if you want to change something, if Facebook wants to change the design, they will not touch every like button. They have one like button, and every place when you can see the like button is just like using it. It's like a function. So they will change the design here, and the design will just change everywhere. Is it like understood why we work like this? Instead,
It's like a class constructor if you want to optimize more.
yeah,
The glass what?
class constructor.
Glass?
Class.
Glass.
Class.
I understood glass.
Yeah, no worries.
He came from the pulp function, so.
No, yeah.
Okay.
What's the
No, I didn't.
Pulp function. Yeah, that's clear. Okay, clear? So we will start creating like reusable components, and we can use them everywhere. And this is the concept of React. It's just to create components. So React give you render and give you way to create components. Okay. Until here we have been creating React elements. So this is an element, but I want to reuse this, for example. So let's say I want to create the same, for example, the same search as here, for example. Okay, we will just create like a dummy UI, kind of. So I will just I will comment this. There will be an error. So if you want to create a React component, the one that, for example, we mentioned, like use the function. It's just a function, but you start the function with the capital letter. So, for example, let's say search box. Okay, it's a function. It's a normal function, but this function will actually return JSX. Interesting. So let's say div input, and let's say div. No, it's not a for. We don't need to fill out standard. So let's say search. And the input, you can do this, you can just close the element. Generally, this is how we do it. If you don't have kind of stuff inside an element, you just close it, self-close it, like image picture.
Is that only JSX or HTML as well?
It's HTML. For example, the image tag, you don't.
It is HTML, but you see the closing tags is a bit different than normal HTML. Like the closing slash is before,
Yeah.
and normal HTML is at the end.
Yeah, but depends. For example, let's say for example here. This is an image tag, for example. This is an image tag in the browser. Okay, you open it, you close it. Okay? You can introduce this concept. It will still show up. It's just saying that, oh, this element doesn't have a closing tag. It's self-closed. Okay? It's fairly simple.
But you would use this in a case. Can you go back to
This,
no?
the code.
If you, for example, if you don't have a word like, for example, the label, right? The label will have a search, as in a value. Then you, if you don't have a value, then you can close it the way you're saying. Otherwise, if you have a value, then you don't close it.
Exactly. If you have children, if you want to put stuff inside it, you should open it, close it. Like the div, there is stuff inside it. But if you don't mind, if there is nothing inside it, you just self-close it. Clear? So we want to render this into the browser. How we will do that? So here, you actually do this. Search box. And we have search here.
Magic.
Really.
So do you understand that we created like, so let's say I want to render multiple like search box. So I will do this here. Just to make some space, I will do div. Search box 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? I will have 4 search box. I render. If I want to change search into something else, search for this. And it will update automatically in all of them. You get the power of reusing stuff. Imagine having millions of like pages or something, or I don't know, really big numbers. Yeah,
Search box is a function.
it's a function, but the way we use it like this.
Yeah, something like HTML.
Yeah, it's like yeah. So this is like building React components. So when your component get complex, and you want to reuse it, for example, we could extract this and say const. For example, like the h1, we say div. We can do this. Okay, but this is not reusable. You are just putting a bunch of stuff. For example, let's say you want to render this in multiple places. You can actually put it here, but the power is like you can treat components like functions, so they can get input. I will show you now. Let's say you want to render different things here. So props is what you pass here. So let's say, for example, you pass label equal props properties. Exactly, props properties. You put label search. Okay. Label. Maybe.
Function. All function.
No, we want something that's okay. Search for. Search for. Come on, we're not making that sad. Okay, so you want to reuse this. So you want the same. You have the same component, but you want to change it different. Like for example, in the browser, when you have an h1 or something, when you pass a class or an ID, it will behave differently. It will behave differently. So depending on the class that you pass, you, for example, style it differently. Okay? So this is the same way. So here, this function will receive props. So we can say console.log props. So label, search for from the second component. Third, fourth is empty object. These are empty objects because we didn't pass anything. Here, if we will pass more stuff, name, or let's say placeholder. Placeholder is like, or we can name it whatever we want. Input. It's not like HTML where you have like list of predefined attributes. You have ID, class, data. No, here you can pass whatever you want. So input placeholder. We'll say search for something, and we can say here this will accept. Will label input holder. This is the key. This is the value. This is just label, and these are empty. Okay, these are empty because we didn't pass anything. So the stuff that you pass here, it will be converted to an object, to the lefting the key, to the righting the value. Yes?
You could just put placeholder instead of input placeholder, would it recognize it as a...
No, it doesn't recognize anything.
Would it recognize it?
On everything you pass here,
Yeah.
it will be a props object.
Okay.
But you can see here that we are mixing. So for example, here we have div and we have search box. So we can render actually both DOM elements and React elements at the same time. But these div elements, for example, or DOM elements, the elements provided by the DOM, like p, div, span, it will be also translated using the React create element. Remember? Search box is the same thing. It will be translated to React create element. Everything will be translated to React create element. So for example, if you pass a div, if you pass like for example here ID test, this is a React, this is a DOM element. So here you are not technically allowed to pass. You can pass, for example, I can pass like dd equal test. You can see here dd equal test and id equal test. But the thing, it doesn't make any sense. It's like, what are you gonna do with this dd test? So for the browser elements, it makes sense to follow the browser standard and pass only the attribute supported by the browser. Okay. But because it's built by someone else, it's built by the browser, and they said to accept this and this and this. And it's the same thing for our component. Okay. So let's say, is it clear? Make sense? So we can change this example and call it, for example, or we can keep it. Label. Is like the props concept understood?
How do we use the props? That's what I don't get. So far, they've only showed up in the console.
Exactly. So the thing that you need to understand is like props is like when you call a function, you give it parameters, so the function will behave differently. The same thing for components. Components are kind of something you create, you pass different props, and depending on the props, you will show and hide stuff. For example, let's say
You can use the props
Yeah.
instead of the hardcoded.
yeah. For example, search for. So the thing is like when you want to put normal text, when you want to put text, you just put it here. But if you want to put JavaScript expressions, let's say 5 plus 5, okay? It will be search 5 plus 5. It's treated as text, not JavaScript. But if you want to get it to be treated as JavaScript, you put it in curly braces, like this. Only the thing that you want it to be JavaScript, so now it will be actually 10. You understand? Mm-hmm. So the static part, you put it as text. What do you want to be JavaScript? You put it here.
So instead of parameters,
Yeah.
write
JavaScript. JavaScript.
Write JavaScript, call functions, do whatever.
Yeah. So here actually I can put props. Dot. I can access something on the props. So let's say props dot label. The first one will be search. The second one would be search for, and the other two would be just empty because we didn't pass anything.
Can you go back?
We are customizing our output. Depends on the input.
For example,
So
like
look at this,
props.
right? Props. It accepts some props, and when you call the actual component here, you give a name of the prop, whatever you give it, and you give it the value in it, right? And then when you call it what? By props, which is the property, and the name of the property you gave, which is label. Props, label, right? And then the value is going to be shown here. It's going to be search.
Yeah.
Confused because normally search box we open parentheses to call a function
Yeah.
normally. For this reason it gets confused.
But just like this is like calling function, but you will not call the function. React will call the function.
Yeah.
This code will be transpiled. Remember, this code will be transpiled.
So this level means pops.
Yes.
You declare as
Yes.
You're passing here information, right? You're passing parameters, attributes to the function. But this function is a React element, right? This is a React element which you created here, which has this stuff. And the beauty of this is this: you pass props to
Yeah.
the element that does something.
And you get the component to behave differently, so we can reuse components. For example, Facebook, when you have like likes, the like actually show how many likes you have. So you have the same like, but inside it you don't hardcode. You don't say 65 or 20 or something. You say the props dot count, and depends on the count that you pass, it will display differently. Do you understand? Clear? So this is a way actually to customize and reuse. Because if something is static, you cannot reuse it. You need to reuse dynamic stuff. I want to call function with my name, and you say hello my name. You pass Yunus, hello Yunus. You pass X, hello X. If I will hardcode Yunus inside it, I cannot reuse it. So a crucial part of reusing stuff is to find kind of where to fit the dynamic parts. So this is, for example, the input is static, the label is static, but what to put inside? Let's say the placeholder, for example, placeholder. Placeholder would be like this. So we have been using this so far. This is to put strings. But if you want to put JavaScript, you put like this, props dot placeholder. No, input placeholder. Input placeholder. This one. We get it inside the props. We say props dot input placeholder. It will give us this, and we put it as the value of placeholder. And you can see here, search for something. It's the only one that is getting a placeholder. The other ones are not getting any placeholder because I didn't pass any placeholder. If I will say input placeholder here, I will just make it small. I can say test. The last one will get test as input placeholder. You type, it will disappear. Cool. Do you get the idea of how to customize like a component? So this is a simple component. For example, now I want this component to, for example, when you press the like button in Facebook, you will go to the server to save. Oh, increment the like. So when the user will refresh the browser, it will fetch the new count. So we actually, every time you click, we go to the browser, we do something. We go to the server and we do something. Okay? We can do the same thing here. We are passing like JavaScript values. We can say, for example, on input, change. I just like dividing it in 3 lines. It's clear. Just as, instead of one line. Yeah. So I can put a function here actually. So I can put an arrow function. Is this clear? So I'm putting a function as a value. It's like having an object. It's like having a equal val test show. It's an arrow function. Is this clear?
The only difference between an arrow function and a function is that the arrow function doesn't have the function.
Yeah.
It has an arrow.
Yeah, and we can put
I mean, there's a few other
differences.
as well. Yeah.
We can put a function here. Definitely. We can put a function. Up to you. We can define a function outside. Function, I don't know. My func. Let's say alert. Val. Alert arc. Alert arc. Or console.log. I can put it here actually. On input change, we say how we call it, myfunc. Is this clear? Nothing fancy. I was passing strings here. I can pass a function, I can pass a number, I can pass an object, I can pass whatever I want. It's like a function. You can call a function with a number and string, and it's the same thing here. And inside the components, you can see here, in the second, it's a string. What the fuck?
You forgot the
argument.
Yeah.
So make it
Hmm?
a power function with argument.
I don't want to call it, I just want to pass it. Yeah, now it's working. It just didn't save. So we have, for example, here, we have the input placeholder, we have the label, we have the input change. It's just a function. So it's an object at the end. Is it clear?
Yeah, why would I do that?
Maybe, for example, you want this component to run a function after the input will change. Maybe you want to validate and say, let's say, for example, let's say here, so every time there is something called like event. The way we do it, like normally, we use add event listener. Okay. For example, we have an input and we say add event listener change or something like that. In React, we have the input, for example, and we do it straight away here. So we say, for example, on change, on mouse down, on key down, on key press. Can you see? So you do it straight away here.
All the events.
All the events. So I'm interested in on change. On change, actually, it's not available on the DOM. It's only on React. Well, it's available in the DOM, but it will fire every time you leave the input. So when you leave the input and go to somewhere else, when the input will lose the focus,
It's good. So
you will fire this event. But in React, on change means every time you type something, it will fire it. And you give it an event handler. An event handler is what? It's a function. So I will say props dot the function that I have passed, which is this. Is it clear a little bit? I'm passing a function. We can make it simpler here. We can say like we can say function alert or console.log changed. Okay. So every time I type, it's changed. You can see. It's like listening for an event. But instead of adding event listener in JavaScript and putting the element in HTML, straight away on the input you say on change and you give it a function that you want it to run. And instead of having the function here, because the function will hard code it, but let's say I want this and this to do differently, to different things when actually you type. Let's say I want this to do alert, I want this to do console.log, I want this to do an HTTP call. Depends. Is it clear? What I'm gonna do, I pass different functions with the same key property and I just put it here. Props that input change. Clear?
can we work with the code? How does it invoke? Like
Yes.
line by line?
Yes.
Like who is calling who now?
Yeah.
And the parameters.
Well, so the entry point actually is this. Is the render.
Then yeah, the render.
Where's the final render? Yeah, it's the render here. So the render will take this and put it inside this. Okay? So we have the div test, nothing will happen. React will create a div, close the div, and we have interesting for search box. The first search box, when you call it here, it will go to this one. It will grab all the properties, put them in an object, and
Yeah,
put
like the parameters.
and pass them to the props. Clear? So the props in this case will be label with search value, input placeholder with a string search for something, and on input change with a function as a value. Okay? This is the content of this props, and you can see it here. Label, input, and the function. Okay? Everyone can see here. I'm not blocking you with my computer. No? Okay. So here we can say in the label put props.label. So the parameter that you given to me as label, I will put it here.
Okay.
And the one that you give it to me as a placeholder, I will put it here in the placeholder. And the function that you give it to me, I will put it as the onChange handler. So the onChange handler, every time the input will change, it will call this. And this, it's a reference for this function that I've passed here, which is this function. Okay?
That root word, usually where root is linked up to, so the React object.
Yeah, the root is just like determined by ID. Forget about this. This is just a random div, a random dummy div. We render up to it. Is it clear?
Ish.
Yeah, of course. It should not be 100% clear from the first time. But the second search box, it will be label search for. So label will be search for here. We can see it here, search for. No placeholder, because I didn't pass any placeholder. It's undefined. You know what's undefined in JavaScript. When you don't pass something, it will be undefined. Placeholder is undefined. OnChange is also undefined. I didn't pass anything else OnChange. So here it will attempt to call the function. If I will type here, it's fine. It will just console.log. If I will type here, what's gonna happen?
What do you mean nothing? I'm doing nothing.
Can you go back, search for it? Scroll down. Nothing.
It should throw a JavaScript exception.
It should.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so I was right.
Yes, you were right.
That is new keyword.
Yeah, we can see here, for example. This is just input change and the onChange listening. I think this is new. Just yeah, for example, but if you pass. Yeah, here it will be an error because I passed the 4 as change, and this should be a function. So onChange will call it every time we change something. So if I will type, it will say an expected onChange listener to be a function. Instead, got a value of number. This is number, but we are expecting function, so we can call it. Okay, and if you pass undefined, React will ignore it actually. So
Can you try one thing?
Yeah.
Just so to
just a second.
go back to
Just a second. Yeah, but apparently React will ignore if it's the, what did you want to test?
Just go up?
Yeah.
No, not go up. Sorry. When you pass the function, if you put the this before
This,
this dot.
but it will be undefined because this is not a class.
Okay.
It's not a class.
Exactly.
We are just using random functions everywhere.
It's not our function, it's a function, so the first statement has to contain bits. You can work with this bits.
What?
Yeah, those bits right there. Does it have to be within those?
No, for example, you can put here P.
Well, what's the purpose of putting it in here?
Because we will have a lot of components, a lot of search box, a lot of stuff. So it's really kind of good to kind of separate them.
And it's a requirement. You need to, if a specific element is rendered, it always needs to be contained in one element, in one HTML element.
Actually,
So you could not pass input and the other one.
yeah, but now in the current React
see?
version 16, they deleted that.
If you remove the
Yeah.
delete word,
You need to render the React fragment, but
fragment. Okay.
Yeah.
But because this other thing is word.
But it's
Yeah.
still good practice to put it in a containing element to keep going.
it
It
will.
doesn't work because you don't have. Using fragments is different, but
Yeah.
if you're not using fragments, it won't
Yeah,
work.
you cannot render, but if you want to render like two things, you use actually the React fragment, and it will run them. But mostly some people also use this. I used to use this. I think it works. No, you still need, because they used to support this until they created Fragment, because Fragment is 16.3, I think, or 16.2.
What's right?
Okay, so
Is it not? Is it right?
so if you want to render these two,
Yeah.
let's say you have div. Now each one will be like div input label, div input label, div input label. You want just the input label. You don't want the div. So like some people like at Facebook or the React community, they decided to do this. What the fuck? Yeah, didn't save. Yeah. You can see here input label, input label, input label. I'm not wrapping it in a div. But as he said, you cannot return without wrapping. If you want to return, you just need to. And it's really different from version to version. So be careful. But always, it's a good idea to kind of don't return multiple elements from one component. It doesn't make sense. Because it's a component, so it needs to contain stuff. Make sense?
Which part is considered the component? Maybe it's a good question. Function search box. The whole thing is the component, or just the?
This is a component.
The whole thing is the component.
Yeah, this is the component.
Well, it depends what you mean by component, because a component should have a life cycle, and here we don't have, because we are not using the React dot component, right?
Yeah.
So this is not a true React component, in fact.
It's a component, but it's like functional component.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
call it a functional component.
Because, exactly, we can go into that as well.
Yeah, but for example, like in my company, we killed the class components. We don't use it anymore.
So you don't use.
We use the life cycle,
the
but
life
we use recompose.
recompose.
Yeah, it's like a functional component, and you can augment them with higher order components to pass.
Okay.
Because we found them it's a little bit difficult to, and developers start actually digging and adding really big components and doing HTTP calls and stuff inside life cycles, and we wanted to kill that.
Okay.
So it's a component, but as he said, it's missing a lot of I don't know, like it's like comparing BMW with really small car. This is the small like car. There is a better version where React component has a lot of features, lifecycle, the disk binding and stuff. But it's also complex. It comes with a lot of complexity. Clear? What's the purpose and stuff like that? Now we will move to something more interesting. Actually, it's allowed, but it's really better to kind of, when you render one thing instead of rendering all your app here, and you put every React component in its own file. So we will do that. We will go to public. We have the source. We will create new file. For example, we say search box.js. It's better to start with big S, capitalized, because it's a component. It should be a class, but React also enforce even on functions to have.
Is the capital letter there on the function? Is it convention, or is it required?
Convention.
Yeah.
It's more of a convention, but we can try that. It will not render anything because React enforce big S. You know why? What's the difference between div and search box? How React will figure out that div it's by the browser and this it's by you. You built it. So the big S in the beginning is to distinguish that. When there is a big S, okay, it's component provided by you. When there is small thing, okay, it's by the browser. Clear? Remember, this error, it will take you a lot of time. Some people put small s, including me, and sometimes I don't. When I create components really fast, I don't put like capital letter in the beginning, and I will forget that. And I will keep like, why it's not working? Why it's not working? And
One
it
day
just
of work, just, you know.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So it's really important to have like big for your user-defined component. Okay? Clear? And we will move this to its own file, which is here. Every time you define component, you need to import React. It's required. Okay?
Every component should get
Every component should require React.
and every component should get its own page.
No. You just like functions. You import them.
Okay. It's a file, not a page.
Yeah. We put them in files to separate them, and we have smaller files.
Okay.
Not because of pages.
Yeah.
There's nothing. We told you we can build the whole app just in one script. Remember when we were doing that? We have folders and files, so we can structure the app. It doesn't have anything to do with how we show the app. No. Okay? Just for small stuff. And at the end, you need to export default. Is this clear? You know this? Export default? No.
To export a function or
You know what's this?
so that you can use it in the other
Yeah. So you can say here actually import
files.
search,
Like
Box.
Node.js, yeah?
Yeah. and you can say search box, and it will still clear. The only thing here is we are missing my function. So my function should not stay here. Well, it should stay here because we are passing it to. Clear? Clear. And we created search box. So we learned like two important concepts now. The first one is how to create components, which is like big chunk of HTML, so we can reuse them. And the second thing, how to parameterize or make them truly reusable by passing different props. This is two big concepts in React. I think these two are the most important concepts, plus state, of course. But props, it's the way so you can parameterize your components. Okay? What? There is like something.
This is a lot. I think I understand everything, but I think I need time to understand how to connect these two. So I have this file and the other one.
Yeah.
Just stare at it for a while alone. What? I have to go through it and stare at it.
So we can do something here. Like most of the people they do this. So they create for example, they create a function. I will create another function, app, and the app will render this. And you say here up. Clear? It's like you create another component, and this component is responsible for rendering the top level stuff. Like it contains HTML and body and stuff. And after that you render this component. So your render actually will become clearer, and it's just one app. And the app will contain div with 4 search box, and each search box is this component. And you pass different stuff to it.
Should we only have one React DOM.render
Yeah.
running per file?
Well, actually you can have multiple, but it's really an edge case. It's an edge case. In a truly React app, I don't think you need more than one.
Sorry.
It's an edge case. Some people render different like stuff.
Because you can inject React to a normal HTML page. You know, you have your own HTML page, but then you can probably create a box that has React there. So you can inject with React DOM render everything you build in React, just that box in the HTML page. Okay? But when you build a total React app from ground up, you just use index.js with React DOM render app, the main component, and then create another file called app, and you insert all the other components inside that app.
Yeah.
Why did they separate the React and the React from the two modules?
We talked about this. We said that this for two main reasons. So actually you can render this to React VR or to mobile application. This search box. You can import this search box.
Why it's not just one file?
Yeah, but for example, you can create using React this search box, and you don't render it using the React DOM. You render it using React Native to a native app.
Yeah.
You understand?
So in that way, you can use all the good stuff from React, both in React Native and in React for the web, without any.
Yeah, exactly.
It's an abstraction layer, if you know what it like.
Yeah.
The React is separated from React Native. Because, for example, if you, like you were saying, if you do an app in React Native, you need to have a version of React, and then you have a version of React Native which will basically do the same that React DOM does.
So React will abstract what do you want to render. You remember the type and the props and stuff. But how you render it? Maybe you want to render it into the browser, which is React DOM. Maybe you want to render it into mobile, which is React Native. Maybe you want to render it into a VR headset, which is React VR. And even some people are rendering it into PDF. So you render React to PDF.
And there is module
For React to PDF. So this is the main thing. Or React to terminal. You can render terminal stuff in React. So it's the way like they separate rendering from what do you want to render. Clear? So now
Your files, your index, search box, and index.html, they all have to be located in your project folder, the one we designated from the start.
what do you mean?
That's the file that we initiated.
Yeah. We removed everything. We kept just index.js.
Yeah, but it all has to.
Yes,
It must
all
be.
the yes.
Yeah. Or if you want to put it outside, you need to import them from the index.
Okay.
You need. This is the entry point. Index. This is what the first file that will get executed. And here you need to put everything and import stuff. So it's like one file, and this file will import everything to it. Clear? So, yeah.
What is class count?
What?
Class count components or something like this.
Class component.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will cover that actually now. And it's the thing what Hugo was talking about, which is the most important part, but it's also a little bit kind of difficult, not to learn, but to work with, because it has a lot of concepts, life cycle and stuff. So we will build a new class. Just a second. So let's build the same, not the same search box, but let's build the listing. Okay, let's build a component that lists stuff. Okay, so we have like list items, and we have a list that group all list items, and we're on the 4 or 5 or 6 or 7. So we'll create a new file. I will call it new file, list.js. Okay.
Can we commit this before? Or we don't need it? I mean, we get.
I will not delete this stuff.
Oh.
I will keep it. I will commit at the end of the class and push it, and you can.
And maybe you comment and explain the difference between the function and the
No, I thought
and the class.
So you want me to commit now?
No, comment. Make some comments.
Oh, okay, yeah,
so
of
that
course.
People will understand. Because this is basically
Component.
two different approaches in a way. Like if you go to the React docs, they have the function approach, which is a function. And they have a function called welcome. We here have a function called search bar, and they consider this a valid React component because it accepts props. So for them, I mean, they are the guys who created it, so let's take that they are right. For them, a function that takes props can be seen as a valid React component. So, but of course, there is a lot of things that, especially when you have more complex applications, you need stuff that you cannot get in this way. That's why there is the a React class, a React component class. You
So,
get a lot of other things.
yeah. We will try to convert this to a simpler class instead of function. So I will put it in the top. I will comment it. Okay. I will import React. Every time you define a component, remember to import React. Clear? So the way you create a class component is to create a class action. So you say class, you give it the same name, search box, and X. But there is something. So this is a class, normal class. Okay. To make it a component, you actually extend React.component. You know what extends refers to? All of you. No?
I don't know.
You've never been introduced to
I think we did it briefly, like a month or two ago.
Okay,
It's been a really long time.
okay. So we can say like let's say JSP. HTML, JavaScript, console, and remove graphic. So let's say we have a class. Let's say shape extends. No, just class shape. We start him. It will take constructor, and you give it a name. This dot name equal name. Okay. Let's say draw. Console dot log drawing the shape. Okay. Here. How to use this class? Everything here, constructor and method. You've studied this before.
Yeah.
So we can say const s like shape equal new shape, and we give it a name. For example, Yunus, I'm not a shape. Let's say
Circle.
circle. Yeah. Yeah, we can do console with that. S dot draw, for example. No, it's already containing like console.log inside it. Drawing shape. Okay, so this class is like just a class with constructor and stuff. We can say console.log s.name, and we say I will just put console.clear on the top, so every time we're in it, we don't preserve the old one. Drawing shape and circle. So the way extends work is like if you have a class which is a base class and you want to create another class, but there is another class that contains more, like the original class. It contains some functionality that you already have there. The original class. So you extend the class you create a class that extend your base class, which is shape in this case, and it will get stuff from it.
Okay, yeah.
So you are extending stuff. You are inheriting. It's called inheritance in other programming languages. So you inherit stuff. Let's say we create, and generally inheritance is more like specialized. So when you inherit from class, it should be more generalized. So let's say a class circle extends shape. Okay.
So every time we have to write extends.
Yeah, means this class will take everything. So this class will take the constructor, the draw, and stuff.
Class and then class name extends.
Yeah.
And then
Every time in React we create a class.
Component.
Yeah, but forget about React now. We are JavaScript. We are JavaScript. This is JavaScript thing. This is not related to React. Okay? So now let's say circle. Circle. It's like a new circle. C and C. So even .c, it's empty. The circle class, it's empty. But it still has a name. We can say, for example, this shape. It's a normal shape. So drawing a shape. So my first class is shape. It has two methods. Clear? The second class is empty. But when I say c.draw, even that it's circle, which is empty, it's still say drawing the shape. Why? Because actually this class now, it gets all these properties from it. So you inherit stuff. You understand? So when you say c.draw, it will look for it here. I will not find it. It will jump from this class to the class that you extend to it. And it will look for, oh, I have draw. So draw, I will take it from the class that you have extended from it, and I will call it. Clear? This is inheritance. And you can even say c.name. And c.name here is shape, and here is circle. It's different. Because when you inherit, it's like kind of copy the class. Does it make a little bit of sense? Okay.
All the methods and functions from the parent are implemented
Yeah.
in the child.
Every property with
Yes, and you can apply that to React in the sense that when you extend a React component, it means that you're going to inherit all the life cycle, so all the functions that are
Yeah.
defined in React, you get it there.
So they create, as he said, they create stuff. And for example, like because React component needs a lot of goodness to get executed and shown into your browser, so you inherit that from the component, React component. So React component will give you stuff so you can work easily with React. Is this clear? And there is something called like I think overloading. Yeah, overloading. No, overriding. Overriding. Yeah, you can override.
Override.
Yeah, not overloading. So you can say here draw console.log.
Yeah, but, yeah. This you won't use in React. But it's a good concept.
No, because for example they will override the life cycle because they are empty. So they will get them and override them.
Yeah, but there you don't.
Yeah, you don't
behind
think
the
this
hood,
way,
yeah,
you
that's
don't
behind the
know.
hood, yeah, behind the hood.
So you can see here it's drawing a circle instead of drawing shape. Because now I'm saying, okay, I know that I will get a draw method from the shape.
Yeah.
But throw it, I want to use mine. So you are overriding what you are inheriting.
but that's the use of the
Depends.
extent, like-
Yes, sometimes you just want to extend something. Let's say there is a draw and there is another method called calculate. So you can override some methods.
Okay.
So I will inherit 1, 2, 3 from you, but the fourth I want to provide my own thing. I don't want to use the fourth from you.
So I edit it.
Yeah. Clear? Clear, all of you? So this one I will put it in the so you can take a look at it after. So we will continue here. We'll say extend React.component. So component here, it's just because it's an object inside React. React is an object and it has a component, so it doesn't matter. So you can say React.component. So you are extending, as he said, some goodness from React, some stuff, some good stuff. So you don't we will see what React give us. So this is the first thing. You extend. So there's two conditions. You extend from React.component. The second condition, you write a method called render. And what you will return here, you put it in the render. So instead of having a function that returns JSX, you create a class with a render method that returns JSX.
Can you go back to the original way we did it?
Yeah.
Render?
This one.
We had a page of it?
What?
It's this
No,
one, the commented one.
On top.
It's the command.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, we're comparing each.
Let's clean up this.
Instead of writing function, you write class, name of the component, extends React component. Then inside you again create another function, render, and inside the render you return.
It looks less awkward this one.
Because render what is render.
Depends. You will see the
No,
awkwardness.
It looks like it's a new thing, not a function we put HTML.
Yeah, the only thing why I use the function to teach is because when you hit the class
Yeah,
before the function, why I'm using class? Is it something? So I've teach you that like a component is like just a function. It will return some
you
stuff.
can
But now we will, as he said, now we can use React, the true React, with this class. But I wanted to teach you the concept that this is how this is why we created component. The other stuff, it's like more stuff that React have been adding, so we can build application easily. But it's not the core concept. The core concept is just having reusable components.
Think of as well difference between class and function is state. Just have these words in mind so you get familiar, yeah? Function is stateless and class is stateful.
stateful.
Yeah, we will get into the state.
We'll get
It's,
into that later, but just
Yeah.
have these words in your mind. Get
it's called stateless actually, yeah. Everyone calls it stateless component.
Can you go back to the original way we wrote that? Show me that.
You can have a stateless class.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah.
So you don't have to.
But the
Functional
possibility,
doesn't allow you to.
but the possibility to have. That's
Yeah.
what his discussion.
Didn't
We have the
render it-
possibility.
Didn't we render it in a different way?
No.
React DOM.render?
No,
That wasn't that?
it's the same way. So like we can export this. So we can say export default search box. Okay. And here we will have two search boxes. But this called list. Okay. So search box class, let's say. And you can actually render it in the same way.
This React DOM.render, is that the same thing as the new render we just wrote? That right there?
No. It's two different things. Like it's really this is not related to React at all. React DOM is not related to React at all. It's own separate package.
Okay.
It's on like don't get confused by the render. Already confused. Already confused. But that's good. So now I can actually do this. Yeah. The only thing is like. One thing.
It's because of the
Yeah.
export default.
I think it's because of the props. It's undefined. Prop is undefined. Prop is undefined. Because we need to use this props. We need to use this props for the class.
Yeah.
Yes. I will talk about that. But now you can use the same. This is a function, this is a class. It doesn't matter. They look the same when you use them. But this has extra functionality that it's a class. We will actually talk about that later. And this is a function. But from kind of developer perspective, when you use them, it's almost the same. Almost. Clear? Now we will see why we'll use class. So one more thing. Before we had like props passed as a function, but this is not a function anymore. This is a class. So to access the props, actually you say this. You can say this dot props. Okay. So this dot props will contain the props instead of just props pass because this is a class. So this dot props, if you pass here something, if you pass input placeholder equal test, this will be an object that contains this.
Okay, the this, it's a context and it's going to be something that you guys are going to take a while to get because, I mean, it's impossible for us to explain it just like this because it's something that takes a while. You already know what it is.
Yeah,
Okay,
they all be like
Okay.
thing.
Okay, so then you know that this is the context.
It's the class technically.
context.
It's the class.
context.
So this means the class or the class context, and props means the props that you pass to this search box. Is it clear? In the function, you get past props and you can use the props straight away. But here you use this dot props to have access to the props inside the render or any method. Okay, so we can actually refactor and say this dot props. This dot props.
Shouldn't we invoke the render function?
No, we will not invoke it. We will just use search box class. And React will know this is not a function, this is a class. So I need to create one and invoke the render of this class. Do you get the idea? So when you give React a functional component, a component that it's built using functions, it will just call it and give it props. But when it's a class, it will create a class and give you this dot props with the props.
So Sarge blocks the same kind of function
What?
and class.
What?
Sarge blocks is a class or function.
Here, search box, it's a class. But we created two versions. One a class, two versions. Like one
And Sarge blocks JS
is the function, and this is the class.
blocks function.
This is the class. This is the function.
Can we see how it's more useful?
It's the same
Ah.
name.
No, I mean
One
like-
is work as a
Yeah, but when we import them in different way. We say import search box class. When I import them, I give them different names because they are exported as default.
it's different file.
Two different files. Here it's the same name, but it doesn't matter what we have here. It matters what we export. You know this. You know what's the difference between export default and no?
We learned require.
Okay, it's like when you say require. When you say I think model dot exports equals search box. When you import it, it doesn't matter what to import because it will be the top level. You will say like this: import my thing from something, or you say const equal require for example div, not div, like my thing.
Yeah.
Do you remember this?
No.
It's a Node.js.
For Node exports, it's
Node.js.
from Node.
Yeah, this is what I'm trying to make you remember because it's almost impossible to explain everything you can.
Yeah.
This is why we have a curriculum.
So export default is like we have to put in our head, yeah, it has to be like this way.
Yeah, like export default, you give something here,
Yeah.
and because it's the default export, you can, for example, export. Like for example, you can say here.
So this is important for the React.
No, it's important for JavaScript. For example, you can have a function test, and you can export it like this. So there is two ways to export. But the only thing, this is name and export. So we export it with the name test. But this is default export. Okay? Why it's different? Because you can have actually here like this. I will put it in separate lines. So you can see here. You can actually have test. So you can import. So you export stuff from file. A file is like something closed. It's like a box. And from the box, it will export some stuff. And it could be default or named. Default means it will import it like this. It doesn't matter which name to give it here. But this, without this stuff here, it will grab the default. Okay? And when you give it a name, like test, it will grab what was named here. Clear? And I will give you some articles or stuff to document more on that. So yeah, let's get back to this. So we said like you use this dot props, and we can see here this is our React class. We can say input placeholder label a class. So this is a class, the last one. It's a class. But from like when you render it or when you like use it, it's not really a big difference. Of course, unless you touch this stuff specific to a class. But the basic version, it's just the same. So instead of having a function, you create a class with the render method, and the render method will contain what you want to show.
You normally only use a class when you want to use the other stuff, when you want to use the livestock, when you want to use the functions that the class gives you. If you don't want to use it, you just have it as a functional component and you don't have it in the class. And it's better for performance, it's better for many reasons. So
Yeah.
it's good to know both ways.
So it's clear? Clear? But we said what?
Like milk. That's good.
Okay, interesting. So instead of having search box, I will build the list because we discussed that we will build the list here. So we will have a list. I will think. No, even that I've changed the name here, how I import it, this doesn't matter. Because I'm saying give me the default export. So I name it here search box, list, it doesn't matter. Okay, because it's a default export.
But by in terms of readability for your fellow developers. it
Imagine
will
having
be
such box and
Yeah.
you use it as
Exactly.
list.
Exactly.
Are you crazy?
Like, don't be fun.
Yeah. So we will have list here. We will just have list. It renders the same thing, but we will build the list now. So we will build the list, and actually I will build another component called list item from React. Extends React dot component.
You can also have the component up and then just write component down.
Yeah, you can actually so this is for example a React export default, and React also like export some named stuff, which is the component. So we can actually omit this. I will show you two examples. Up to you what you use.
Yeah, good.
It's more of a company convention. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like your company. They have ESLint config, and they will say flow this or flow that. But it's up to you. Both are equally like equivalent. So and we will have the render here. Okay, it's the same thing. The only thing now, I will render like different. I will render UI. Clear? And here I will render the list item.
It doesn't matter to declare that.
Well, it matters because it's a class. There is no hosting.
Doesn't send,
Yeah, so we need a return actually. So we are not returning anything here. So let's say return. In li. I can just use this. Hello. So I have rendered something called a list here. We can comment on all these. Just comment it. This is how you comment in JSX. You do these, and after that you can write a comment inside. Okay? It's a syntax of loop. So we have like a list. Okay? And the list will render UL and 4 list items. And each list item will return li hello. Clear?
until now it's clear, but when we start with props, make it dynamic.
Yeah. But it's about practicing. It's like
Yeah.
JavaScript. You
Yeah.
need to practice. But it's important to have the initial idea. Okay? We have a list item. Now I want the list item to be dynamic. The text of the list item. So what I'm gonna do is like put accept a prop here. So I will say this dot props dot text. And I will say text here. Text 1. Text 4, text 3, text 2. If I will refresh, it will be text 1, text 2, text 3. And these values are dynamic. So when I render the list item, each list item I give it different text. Is it clear?
Maybe they can do a small rewrite inside, so they make components and just displaying their name with the prop. So they internalize in their head because they got a lot in their head today.
Yeah, but this is why we will have the homework.
This prop
I think so.
props
Because I'm really trying to
on the
use as
text.
much time as possible to explain. So they will not be lost.
from the text.
I think so.
What about it? Yeah.
Props.
They are passed to the li, and then the li is running.
Consider props raised from its
It's from there.
props.
Because we have list item.
Ah.
So it's
No,
like
props.
list item dot
These dot props.
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
list item dot
Yeah, but the props is something that exists in the class. Each class.
Inside the class, we discussed that. You were here.
Yeah, we created a function with parameter called props.
Yeah.
So can you see that function?
Yeah.
function? Or?
This is the function, it will get parameters. This is how React treat functions. And for a class, you will get the props using the context, this dot props. This is something to retain, more or less.
Because can you do actually console log of the this?
Yeah. Console.log. Just did this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you just open?
Yeah.
So this is what is inside the this
Yeah.
context.
So each this, it's a list item. Okay? Because it's the class. It's the instance of the class, as he said.
And the props are there, you see by default. You
There's
have all
props
this-
there.
So you have
So when you say this dot props, you will access the props. So React, when you give React a class element, it will create a new instance and stuff, and it will assign the props that you've passed to this element to this dot props.
Exactly.
Is it clear?
That's why, like, if we go show the next list item, just for the
Yeah.
sake of, then it's
Text
text 2 and so on, huh? Because
Text tree.
each of them is.
Yeah. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Truly clear?
You have to ask the other way
It
around.
doesn't need to be water, but if
No.
it's milk, it's already good. And then it's going to get water.
It's a lot of information. on
Yeah,
what
of course.
we do. So I have to go over it myself at home again.
Yeah, you need to. You need to.
Yeah,
And we have a homework for you. You need to follow my code, double check it again, and we have like the mentors to help. If you need anything, you just like tag us or just write in the channel. So if you will repeat the same, if someone will repeat the same mistake, it will learn from you. Because there's a lot of like students, they actually write to me in a private message, and it's not bad, but you will not share your knowledge.
Yeah.
If you will do the same mistake and someone will do the same mistake, I need to explain to him again. This is why we have like channels, so we can actually all of us like collaborate. I wanted to do more thing. I wanted to do another thing. Let's say I have a dynamic number of list items. For tree depends. So I will have a class. So I will have two lists. Each list, for example, will display different stuff. So here I will just say items. It's an array. You do this, and you can pass an array. Clear? You can pass an array, an object, anything. And the array will be, for example, text1, text2. I don't know, to do 1, to do 2. Okay? So each one, so I will remove actually this from here, and I will say console.log this dot props. So the first list item will accept items, which is text1, text2. The second one is items to do 1, to do 2. So items is an array. So if I will do this, dot props dot items, it's what? It's an array. Yeah, I will try to map or anything, but just to get the concept. This is an array. Okay? And I want to map. You remember mapping? I will transform each text into a list item. How I'm gonna do that? I will remove this, or I will just keep one as an example. So when you write JavaScript inside JSX, we discussed that we need this. Because if you say this dot props dot items, it will be literally this dot props dot items. So you need to put it actually in curly braces. Okay? And we will say map. Okay? And the map will take a function. And this map will take an item. So the item in the first time it will be, for example, in this case, the first item will be text, the second item will be text 2, because we are mapping over the first array. So I can return this, and instead of passing static thing here, I will pass the item. So I will transform two text items into two list item classes. And when I refresh, it's
it's because you
it's
have
a mixing function with a row
Then
function.
you put function and everything.
Yeah, exactly. It's like hi. So
yeah.
here we have like
But have you guys used arrow functions? Though?
yeah, they use it.
So it's probably good practice. To
Yeah.
do if
you are not confused,
you can actually have it in the same line and remove
Yeah.
it over.
yeah, exactly. You can see here text 1, text 2, to do 1, to do 3. If I will pass here, for example, dinner, it will be dinner here. So I'm displaying actually data dynamically.
How does it work?
So I have list 1, list 2. These are the same components. You can see the power of that I'm reusing the same component to render different stuff. In the case of list 1, I will go to list 1. I will have UL, and I will have this .props.items, which is two text. Text 1, text 2. And I will map over it. And map will take each item and convert it to another item. So I will convert the item, which is text, in this case, to a list item. And the text here is text 1. I will pass the text as text 1. This item. So text for the first iteration, item would be what? The first text.
Thing of the array.
It will be text 1. And in the second iteration, it will be text 2. Okay? And text 1, I will transform it to list item. And I will give it to the text. We'll give it to the text property. So this .props.text will be this item.
Same thing we can read from JSON file or array.
Yeah. You can read from JSON file, from like HTTP call, whatever you want. Is this clear?
Yeah.
Any question about this? Any question about this?
Not now.
And of course, it's the first React class, so expect yourself to be like this.
Yeah.
I remember myself when I was like React, they didn't change React. Like 2 years ago or something, I used to see this page, and it was the same design actually, even 2 years ago. I used to see this. I want to learn React, but I don't know how. Seriously.
Tutorial, get started.
Exactly. No. But seriously, like I wanted to. I was doing backend at that time, and I wanted to learn React, and I couldn't. So I'm just giving you like it's practicing.
Me, it took me to read this documentation, at least get started, twice.
Yeah.
From start to finish, to actually understand how it works. Then you need a lot of practice.
Is it clear?
If you only read it twice, you don't completely understand.
No.
Any questions?
Yeah, can you show us how to do that with the GitHub repository? If you go into GitHub story and pull the
Choose the branch
No.
first.
You don't need to. You can just browse the code in GitHub.
okay.
So I will push the code now. But do you have any questions?
Now, or you shut up forever.
What?
Is there any homework?
Yes, but do you have any question about this?
That was my question.
Yeah,
How do you get the
I will take that. But about like specific to this, how to render a list and stuff, and how we mapped, and if you have any question,
Show us the homework.
I will. I'm asking about questions about this.
I think we just need to read.
Okay, but it's clear. It doesn't look really
Everything
weird.
is clear.
Okay,
But
nice.
it needs, no, really, but you need to read it line by line to see how they connect.
So I will just add everything. Get status. You're really good at coming.
Capital letter.
First class, final version. and then-
First class. You are really good at that. Thank you. Final version.
Thank
Git push origin. here. And now, if you go to status, I've pinned this repo here. So if you go this here, there's pin. If there's a lot of discussions and stuff, you can actually show it here. You can say here and pinned items, and it should show at the first one. Okay. So you open the repository. It's the React workshop. This is the first version. You remember just to check how the DOM works and stuff. And now we have two branches. React first.
Can you send this link in the?
It's already there.
In the pinned side.
Yeah.
How do I access that pin?
It's like
Yeah, where do you find pinned option?
so.
Somehow everybody just kind of posts the link.
Exactly.
That one?
Branch. Okay.
Exactly.
This one? You're not the only one.
I will rename it actually. We are learning from Hugo how to name properly. It's CI first.
Okay, but this is your. It's your GitHub profile,
Yeah.
so they won't be able to push the master.
Yeah.
I guess.
It's more of you will not use this as an exercise or anything. Just see the code that we did in this class. Yes. You're yeah, exactly. Next, if you would not do the homework next class, you'll be in trouble. You're looking for the homework.
the homework file time. Next week you have to come with the homework.
Next week will be the mentor in my spot.
Yeah.
Why we have to pork beside it? Or push pork.
It's good
Here.
you're a developer.
I see CRA first, React first, and CRA first.
CRA first.
Just a second. I need to explain the homeworks.
Yeah, please.
So you go to React Amsterdam, Hug Future here, because we have updated it. So you can see here there is the homework for the first week, and it's so simple. You just so you create a project using Create React App. I just need to update a little bit. So you will ignore how to submit the homeworks. The only thing you need to create an app using Create React App. You already did that.
Yeah.
Okay, and you actually just do this.
So the Create React app, you already did that
Yeah,
before lunch or
also
whatever, before the break, right?
Yeah.
Just create dash React.
Yeah.
And then you give it a name. You create a new project, and then you just follow on.
It's not that easy. At least it's React because that's just for you to check the code list on class.
Yeah, you just need to create a list. Three static.
In order to see the homework is on the HYF.
I mean, you already done more than that.
Make it hard.
Yeah.
Make it.
It's
like-
just to make them actually work with all these concepts again.
So it's the same.
So using Create React App, you create a new project. We already did that, and the outline is to have a to-do list. You will render a to-do list. You will create a to-do list application. You will have the header. So I will tell you the solution, kind of. You will have one component to render everything. You will have a header list, and you will have a list that renders all the list items, and you will have a list item. So 4 components. The global component that will render everything. Second component, which is the header, just to-do list, its own component, and you will have a list component, and it's inside the list component you will have this. And this should not be static. You should pass it like the way I did,
Like an input.
like an input. So you cannot really hard code this inside the list.
Then right.
You don't hard code it like list here. You don't say get out and stuff. No. You pass like this. To like. You understand? So it should be dynamic, like the way I did it. And you loop.
So basically, this is just the. You just need to pass the data there, and then can remove one of them. You don't need to. But it's good for you to like read it and understand stuff.
Clear? Don't put everything in one component.
You should comment everything in the group. So
Yeah. And if you have any question, any feedback, feel free to reach me or to Hugo or to Petro. Okay? Any questions except that? No?
next time show us some examples of what can we do in the future in React.
Of
like
course, like,
motivation,
we cannot do that from the first class.
You know, like
If I will do that from the first class, no one will appear
No,
next
no.
time. Yeah, but so thank you for today.
Facebook, that's what you can do.
I don't like it.
You can build Twitter, Netflix, anything. They are all built using React. So. Airbnb, there's a lot. PayPal.
Function.
Yeah, but we need not these projects.
No,
we
we
need the
want
private
something
project,
else.
something. You know?
Something normal, not an extraterrestrial.
A local business or something, you know, something you can do by yourself as a freelance.
So thank you for today.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Like to see you guys.
She's gonna come after you and execute you.
Oh, it's yours.